You have to, don't talk in from the top, talk in from the,
So do I have to do
From the
anything
front
on this?
here.
How do I get the link to this?
what? What?
Why does it say the stream starts here? This is you.
That's me, yeah.
Okay.
Talk within like a foot of this, okay?
Hold on, Kyle. How do I get the link to this stream?
Should be in. No. Go to the stream. Hover. I don't know. There should be a share somewhere. Go down. Okay, I'll let you do that.
Yeah, it's on the Hactic page.
Guys, we'll be ready in just a couple minutes. Thank you for your patience. Please grab some wine while you're waiting. Makes waiting so much more fun. Sparkling water's right there. Oh, wow. There's poor man's Perrier. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, good evening.
Quite a turnout. We've never had so many beautiful faces or people, mind you, in this room at the same time. My name is Marc Fisher. I want to personally welcome you to Dogtown Media. This is our space. What we do is we make apps. At the end of the day, we take ideas and we turn them into impactful technology. So having all of you here, it's the perfect time to talk about the next phase and transition in technology taking place right here and now. Bitcoin is the rage. As everybody knows, it's gone up from pennies on the dollar to over $2,200 per coin. Now, what in the world are we paying for? Who are we giving this money to? Why is it valuable, and how is it going to change the world? Well, to answer those questions and many more, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the one and only Ben Sigmund. Close personal friend, colleague, and confidant. He has been playing the markets around Bitcoin, Ethereum, and we got some laughter in the background. I love it. Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies for a couple years now. He is a hardware engineer, an IT expert, and also an all-around nice guy that is sharing his knowledge base with all of us tonight to talk into the nuances of the new, free, and dissipating world where the money in your pocket no longer is how much you're worth, but we are transitioning into a new realm of digital currency that will affect all of our lives starting from today onwards, and we're going to see rapid change for the next 5 years. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce and pass the mic over to the one and only Ben Sigmund.
Hey, all right. All right, cool. First of all, thank you, Mark, and thank you guys for showing up tonight. On a 2-day notice, I didn't know what kind of turnout we were going to get, so we threw some slides together and decided to, put this thing here because I've been getting contacted from a lot of people online. How do I get into cryptocurrency? What is this Bitcoin thing? I know you've been posting about it. What does this mean? I was like, look, I can't have dinner with everyone. I've had more offers to buy dinner in the past few weeks than I've had in like months, so maybe ever. So that's why I decided to do this for everybody to come here and get an idea of what's going on. So just so I can get an idea of what's going on here, does anyone here own any Bitcoin or cryptocurrency right now? You guys own some? You own some? Okay. All right, so the rest of you guys, no one's ever transferred any money back and forth through a cryptocurrency even in the past? Okay. Cool. Awesome, yeah. And so now, how many of you are here because you're interested in using cryptocurrency to make money? Okay, cool. And how many of you are here just because you're really curious about the technology and how it works and what it's all about? How could this possibly change the world? Yeah, all right. All right, cool. So we're gonna cover as much of that as we can tonight, and I'll take some questions at the end. So let's see. We're gonna talk about what's a cryptocurrency. What is it? What does it mean? What's the history of it? How do I invest in it? Why is it important? Really, why is it all the rage right now? And what are some tools and resources that you can use to learn more and to trade? Yeah, is there any way to mute this TV? Because there's like some kind of like volume coming out of the TV for some reason. Yeah, all right. That's awesome. Thank you. So who is Ben Sigmund? That's me. That's a picture of me actually in Japan in April where I went on like a little Bitcoin adventure when I was in Japan because Japan's like the first country to make it a legal tender there. They just activated that in April, like right after I got there. So I wanted to go out and see like, well, what could I buy with Bitcoin? Which really, there wasn't very much. A couple hotels maybe accepted and every now and then a random store. I didn't really do any of that, but what I did want to do was buy a laptop. So I wanted to try out doing local Bitcoins. So I sold the Bitcoin on a local Bitcoin site for cash, and I got Japanese yen. And then I went to the Apple store and paid cash for a laptop. So I also wanted to explore, like, is it possible to buy a laptop like totally anonymously with Bitcoin, trading it for cash in another country, and that's where I got this like laptop right here. So yeah, pretty cool. It totally worked. Yeah. I actually gave the Apple Store my email to get the receipt, but I had a choice. I didn't have to do that. I could have bought the laptop and been totally untraceable. So a little bit about me. I run a company, an IT company called We Solve Problems, and I've been investing in the blockchain since like 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. And I currently have a cryptocurrency miner that's in front of us right here. So this is actually an Ethereum miner. And we'll talk about this more later, but if you're thinking about mining, I can give you some good resources to look into. But typically, from my experience, I can give you, yeah, we'll go into it later, but typically, in my experience, it's better just to buy a currency than to mine it. The money I spent on this would probably be worth double now or triple compared to, what the price of Ethereum has gone up to now. So, currently I'm building an escape room for kids to learn about decentralized blockchain technology. So that's another thing going on right now, is that we're looking on July 9th for an event to have an escape room for kids to learn about blockchain.
Next Amber Alert.
Yeah, we're gonna go in. We're gonna go into all of this. This is gonna make sense later. Yeah, yeah. You guys can be in the escape room. All right. So first of all, I want to talk about just new technology and how it develops. And I have this slide called "Fanboy versus Haters." So, do you guys know what a fanboy and a hater is? You know, fanboy is someone who is like so enthusiastic about something. They're telling everyone all the time, "You got to get involved in this thing. It's amazing." And you know, a hater is obviously the person who's like, "I want nothing to do with that. That's a fad. That's a bunch of BS. It's never going to become anything.
It's a scam.
It's a total scam." Yeah, right. So now, which one do you guys think is more annoying? Which one do you find more annoying when someone talks about you? Fanboy or haters? Haters? Haters, okay.
Depends on how often you're right.
So when there's new technology that comes out, there's always going to be people who are doubtful and people that are like emphatical. This is going to change the world. This is amazing. This new technology, this thing, it's so incredible. Everyone has to get on board. So this has happened several times in history. In 1975, there was the PC. In 1993, there was the internet. And really, I think in 2009, there was Bitcoin. So that's like the level of technological innovation that Bitcoin has the potential to impact the world that we live in. I threw Litecoin on here because I know it's one of the top traded ones. So Litecoin is another cryptocurrency like Bitcoin that came out in 2011. And then Ethereum came out in 2015. So yeah, what does it mean when these things come out? Well, it means that someone publishes a paper or releases software that is going to run the currency. So I'm going to explain this more in a minute. But first, I think to understand about currency, we're going to go into what is money. You know, whenever people ask me what is a Bitcoin, I always think like, well, how would you explain what a dollar is to someone who's never seen a dollar? You know, go back 250 years ago or 280 years ago before a dollar existed and try to explain to someone what a dollar is.
Like 2 goats and a chicken.
Yeah, exactly.
That equals that.
Yeah. We use these papers to to buy stuff. Yeah, they're worth something. You know, the amazing thing is that we trust dollars more than we trust people, and they've only been around for like less than 300 years. And the value isn't even the same from year to year. It's worth different things. Like, you know, in my lifetime, the price of the same things goes up constantly. So the definition of money on Wikipedia is any item or verifiable record that is generally accepted as payment for goods and services and repayments of debts in a particular country or socioeconomic context, or is easily converted to such a form. Well, it's a pretty complex definition. It almost doesn't sound like anything. You know, in the end, I'm still like, what is money though? If I really didn't know, it'd be very hard to understand without an example. You know, if we think about how money developed, once upon a time we had the barter system. And if I had bananas and you had chickens, and I wanted some chickens, you know, I could come and bring you my bananas, and then hopefully you'll want bananas, and then you'll give me a chicken. But then, like, sometimes people don't want bananas. Or sometimes I don't want chicken, I want something else. And chickens and bananas are very hard to carry around. They're also very hard to divide. And you can't really store them for a long time. So when we think about how value is exchanged, you know, over history, we've basically had feature upgrades in the way that we use this technology that we call money. So what is a cryptocurrency? This is the latest upgrade in money, is a way to look at it. It's a digital asset designed to work as a medium of exchange using cryptography to secure the transactions and to control the creation of additional units of the currency. I know it's a little dense right now, but I just want to get this out there, and I'll make these slides available to you guys so you don't have to remember everything right now. But this is a general overview to get your minds turning, and then like I said, we'll do questions later. So let's go through this real quick. Actually, let me look here. Right there, okay, cool. All right. Crypto foundations. So Bitcoin itself was born out of more than 20 years of cryptographic research by cypherpunks, basically people that love coding and decoding things, physicists and mathematicians working on a problem called the two generals problem. And I'm giving you a brief overview of this so you can understand what this is about. The two generals problem says there are two generals fighting a war, and they have to send messages to their troops that are out in the field. But some of their troops could be traitors and some of them might not be. So when they send a message to their troops, how do the troops know that the messages have not been intercepted when they don't have control over the entire chain of the message necessarily? And this is a problem in like computer networks and in the modern digital world where you don't know if something gets changed in its route through all the wires and devices of the world, that it could be potentially, the message could be screwed up somehow unless you have a verification system. And so, this is like a logic problem of trust. How can we trust a message? How can we trust money? And up until now, the way that we have solved this problem is by using things like banks to be the middleman, to ensure that the value is there when you transfer money to someone else. And cryptocurrency is the idea that that doesn't need to happen if we have a layer of trust built into the currency itself. And I'm going to explain how this happens, but I want to go through the rest of these foundations here. So there's a lot of factors that contribute to cryptocurrency's development, popularity, and fame or infamy. Some of the historical events that I believe influenced this are 9/11, the 2008 crash of the market and the bailout, which, Bitcoin was actually released just a few months after that. The Occupy movement and the idea of the 99%, and the Silk Road, which is where almost every article I read about Bitcoin brings up the Silk Road. Do you guys know what the Silk Road is? Yeah. Does everyone know what it is? Does anyone not know? It's it was an online marketplace where you could buy and sell drugs and illegal substances using Bitcoin. So the idea is that, Bitcoins are not anonymous, they're pseudonymous. But unless you say that a certain address in the Bitcoin chain it belongs to you, then no one knows it's you. So there's a level of anonymity you can maintain. That's how people can buy things that maybe they wouldn't be able to buy even with cash, where you have a face-to-face transaction.
Did the government just do something about that?
The government shut this down like years ago. Yeah. I actually am not sure if it was the government that investigated it or not. It was the FBI.
Eventually got him,
Yeah. So there's still plenty of online marketplaces where you could buy plenty of illegal substances on the Tor network, but we're not going to go into that now. So October 2008, a research paper is released titled "Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system." And the paper intro says something about a peer-to-peer version of electronic cash without going through a financial institution and having a record that cannot be changed. And it was released by a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto?
It's me.
Yes, it's me. It's me. I am Satoshi Nakamoto. Well, who knows, really? I mean, that's the thing, is that the founder of Bitcoin, the person who wrote the Bitcoin code and released it and mined the first Bitcoins, did the first Bitcoin transactions, is totally a mystery. So even though the network is committed to transparency and openness, it's paradoxical that the founder is afraid to come out and just say who he is or who they are. Could be a group of people. There's been lots of speculation and investigations you can read about it on Wikipedia and stuff. Like, it's fascinating to see like all the people that it could be that deny that they're Satoshi Nakamoto, and the other people are saying that they are Satoshi Nakamoto. Anyway, there's a link at the bottom of this slide where you can read the white paper release that came out before the software. And like I said, I'll make these slides available to you guys. So yeah, what Satoshi released is a new version of money. So if we think about money as a technology, when we're upgrading, when you upgrade your operating system, when you upgrade your phone, there's always new features. One of my friends is obsessed with features. So when we think about money as a technology having features, let's just say we start off with gold. Gold is highly interchangeable. It's not consumable, It won't rot. It's moderately portable. You could carry gold nuggets around with you, but it may be a little hard if you have a lot of gold. It's durable. It's not going to wear down. It's not highly divisible. I mean, you could break gold chunks up into littler gold chunks to have less payments, but it doesn't have that divisible feature that modern money has as easily. Gold is, moderately secure. There's been a lot of stories back in the day of fool's gold and counterfeit gold. If you don't have the right detection techniques, you could get fooled. It's not easily transactable. Like, it's not easy to use in a transaction. Gold's kind of difficult because you need to have scales and other equipment to figure out what the value is, and it does have a scarce supply that's predictable. We kind of have an idea of the rate that we can pull gold out of the ground. And then these other features here of money at the bottom didn't even apply to gold. There was no government issued gold, there was no decentralized gold, and there was no smart programmable gold. Sovereign government issued money is what replaced gold because it was more portable, it was easier to transact with, and the government can control the value. That's the US dollar, fiat currency, where it doesn't have any intrinsic value in itself, but it represents a value. That's what fiat currency basically means. It's because the government says. Then cryptocurrency comes along, and it's got all the features that money has and more. It's really highly divisible. A dollar can only be divided up until 1/100th of a dollar, which is a penny. But bitcoins can be divided to the 8th decimal place, 0.00000001. I don't know if that was enough zeros, but you get the idea. And Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies, we're using Bitcoin as an example here, but is not issued by any government. It's not controlled by any government. The program that started running it still runs it. And the laws that were built into the program are the laws of the currency. And the only way that the laws of the currency can be changed is if most of the users, at least 51%, vote to change the software by clicking an upgrade button, essentially. It's how voting works. There's tons of different versions of Bitcoin software floating around out there, but everyone agrees to pick kind of the same ones. And, this is how the law is changed. It has to be changed by a majority of the CPU power on the entire network of Bitcoin. This is going to make more sense soon.
So does that mean that it's common that, most people get an updated terms of use and just click it? So most users...
No. The users that we're talking about are not going to there's no hey, it's time to update your Bitcoin.
Yeah,
it's you have to go out and get it.
Right.
So you actively want to go do that because there's features and things that are going to come with the upgrades that are going to make...
They're consciously choosing.
Yeah, they're all consciously choosing, and it's really contentious. It's very politicized because different people want the currency to go a different way, which is good in a way. You kind of want that tension. So it's decentralized because Bitcoin does not have a central control. It's running on computers all over the world. And all of the computers have the entire record of all transactions that have ever occurred on Bitcoin, and it can never be changed. The historical record is permanent. So every transaction ever made is still out there living. You can explore them on the web. I'll show you later in the slides that you can see all of them. Yeah.
Who would be a hater, as you say?
Who would be a hater of
this situation?
Bitcoin?
Is
Yeah,
it
I don't know.
But they're adopting it too.
I don't know if they really. Yeah, I don't know if there's any official haters right now. I mean,
a lot of gold.
Okay.
yeah, I think there's haters pop up every day. I see them on Facebook or on news articles talking about how the price is going to drop because of this and that. There's just speculation in every direction. So
People who still pay bank fees.
Yeah.
Does it have the same corrections like stocks or ETFs that can fall?
Hold on, we're going to do questions at the end. Okay. All right, so I talked about this idea that the entire transactional history lives on every computer that's using Bitcoin. So every computer that's mining or using Bitcoin has the ledger, which is really just a data, like a spreadsheet. There's a spreadsheet of every transaction that's ever occurred on Bitcoin since January 2009 when Satoshi Nakamoto created the first Bitcoin. And it's totally explorable. You can view it. And the way it works is that every transaction that occurs, if it's going to be, for the transaction to actually happen, it has to be confirmed by the entire network. So the way that happens is like this. Alice wants to send, hey Alice. Alice wants to send money to Bob. It's always A wants to send money to B. This transaction is represented by a block. The block is broadcast to every party in the network. There's a cell phone, there's a desktop, there's a laptop, there's some kind of PDA device. Then those in the network approve that the transaction is valid. And what this means is that they're verifying to make sure Alice actually has Bitcoin that she can send to Bob, that it hasn't been sent anywhere else, that it was actually sent to her through the transactional records. And the way it does this is not by knowing that it's Alice, but by knowing Alice's address, like an IP address, but on the blockchain. It's a string of letters and numbers, like having an address on the street where people can send you stuff. And you can send messages or money, and there's, this is like kind of like a next level little thing in here, but these addresses are verifiable. So we can tell everything that's ever gone into that address and everything that's ever come out of it. So once the transaction is approved as valid, then the block is added to the blockchain. So it goes into the database on all of these computers. And then the money gets transferred, only when it reaches a certain number of confirmations. So the idea is that all transactions that occur on a blockchain, and like I said, this is true for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, are first verified against all the previous transactions. It's all computed against all the previous transactions to make sure that A, the money is where it says, where Alice said it was going to be, and that it can be sent to Bob, and when it's sent, that goes into the record. So that's how things get into the database, is when a certain number of people on the network agree that it can go in. And different software is going to allow different levels of confirmations. So I want to just talk real quickly about something called Mt. Gox. Some of you may have heard of it. Mt. Gox is an exchange that was hacked. And essentially what happened with Mt. Gox is they weren't using the right number of confirmations. So someone was able to double spend money from their Bitcoin network because of the way they wrote their software, not because of the way Bitcoin was written, because they didn't follow the proper guidelines. And it was already well known that they had some problems. So someone found a way to really take advantage of that and essentially steal money from a lot of people. So let's take a look at how a Bitcoin transaction works here again, because I think this is important to understand. Bob is an online merchant. He decides to begin accepting Bitcoins as payment. Alice is a buyer. She has Bitcoin. She wants to purchase merchandise from Bob. Bob and Alice both have Bitcoin wallets on their computer. So every one of you who decides to buy any cryptocurrency, you're going to need to have a wallet of some kind. And this is a place where your addresses are stored securely. So wallets are files that provide access to multiple Bitcoin addresses for sending and receiving Bitcoin. An address is a string of letters and numbers, such as 1 HUL, M, W, ZEP, K, JEP, and this whole string, right? Can you guys see that? This crazy string on there? If not, you'll be able to read it later. So each address has its own balance of Bitcoins, which could be 0. A lot of addresses probably have 0. You can create a new address. So Bob creates a new address for Alice to send her payment to. So it's actually suggested that people create a new address every time they receive money. And if you have like an online payment gateway, a lot of times it'll do this for you. It'll automate that by creating a new address to receive money on, receive Bitcoin on every time there's a transaction. And the reason for that is it's just more secure. It's more secure, and it's less easy for people to track how much money you've gathered. So it would make you less of a target if they were to identify that address belonged to you. Then a payment submitted. Alice tells her Bitcoin client that she'd like to transfer the purchase amount to Bob's address. Alice's wallet holds the private key for each of her addresses. So every address has a private key because an address you can make publicly available to the world. But Bitcoin will not allow you to send from that address unless you have another key. It's like a secret code. That's also a bunch of letters and numbers. So the important thing is that Alice's private key is totally private just for her. If someone were able to get a hold of her private key, then they could send Bitcoin from her address. Anyway, then the transaction goes through a verification, and this is where the computer miners come in. So computer miners are computers that are set up to calculate the cryptographic hash functions that make Bitcoin function. So right in front of us right here, this is an example of an Ethereum miner that we built. So this miner crunches numbers, calculating transactions and verifying them. And as a reward, it gets paid in Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever the cryptocurrency is. So the idea of mining is that you're doing the work of verifying the transactions of the network. And you're rewarded for that in very small increments. So then this goes into cryptographic hashes a little bit, which essentially is where cryptographic hashes are basically where you have a function, mathematical function, that can take a long string of data and make it into a short string that can be decoded if you have the key. That's a very simple explanation for this. This goes through how the values are added to the hash chain, to the blockchain, and once the transaction is verified, like we said, then the money is able to move. So the verification time with Bitcoin has recently been increasing. There's a huge number of unverified transactions right now on the Bitcoin network. And that's because the usage has climbed so high that the technology has not adapted to keep up with it, basically. Like Litecoin recently went through a software upgrade to move towards dealing with huge numbers of transactions now. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but Bitcoin's kind of slower to adapt because it's more contentious. So when we compare Bitcoin to Litecoin and all these other coins, like each one of them has a different flavor, kind of. The people that are involved with it have different ideas of where they want it to go, and it might adapt to new technologies more slowly or more quickly. Anyway, at the end of this, the transaction is verified. That could take 10 minutes, it could take 2 hours. You know, it kind of depends on where the transaction was coming from. Some transactions recently have not been getting verified at all. So people have been sending Bitcoin and then realizing later, like, oh, it never left my wallet. Because they didn't get bid high enough to get into a miner. Because the miners' fees are going up. Because the competition's very high to get blocks into the blockchain now. So this is kind of like Bitcoin's in a weird growing phase right now, and the price is going up even despite that. So that's pretty amazing. So let's go through this blockchain idea for a sec and talk about who uses blockchains and what are they used for. So consumers use blockchains to buy things with cryptocurrencies. Merchants accept payments with crypto coins. Miners, like we discussed, are running computers that process and validate the transactions of crypto coins. And then there's developers building new products and services on the blockchain. So the idea that the blockchain has this trust network built into it, where every transaction has to be verified, is useful for all kinds of different scenarios that developers are figuring out. You know, from sending messages to running an organization. like a company that runs on a blockchain, where the law of the bylaws of the company of how it can make and spend money are written into the code. And this is where it really gets to like, okay, this is the really interesting thing about blockchains and blockchain technology and where things are going, is that the use case for this, we don't even really know them all yet. But what we know about them is that blockchains are secure. They're counterfeit resilient. There's no double spending and no fake coins. Every coin that's produced is unique. There's no chargebacks. Transactions are totally irreversible. Now, it's the same thing with a credit card. If you like contact the person that you're buying something from, if you accidentally send someone Bitcoin, you know what the address was, you know, you'll probably be able to get it back. Just like with a credit card. If you fought your transaction with the person, you know, you can get your money back most of the time, but there's no guarantee.
If you Venmoed somebody, they Venmo back.
Yeah, you Venmo someone, they could Venmo you back. Or they might not. And then you could have to open a case with Venmo, but with blockchains, there is no real central authority to open up a case with at this point. Speed on most cryptocurrencies, transactions are really fast. Transactions are really cheap, really low fees. So the fees for exchanging most coins are like 0.25%. Compare that to 2 to 3%. You know, I read somewhere online that someone said that the fastest way to get money from San Francisco to LA was to go to the bank, take out money, get on a plane, fly to LA, hand it to someone. Because, you know, a flight to LA is like an hour. You get to the airport, that's an hour. I mean, really, even wiring money takes 4 to 5 hours or 2 days sometimes. It's pretty crazy. So there's all types of cryptocurrencies out there that are working to solve this problem of that data moves so freely. I could send someone an email so easily, but then to send them money, kind of hard, like to get the cash or to get it in their bank account. You know, even with Venmo or PayPal, it takes 2 to 3 days. So blockchains are also borderless. They're global, they're intergalactic. You could use them anywhere within the internet. Decentralized, there's no single point of failure or control. Kind of unique. They're deflationary. So for most cryptocurrencies, the supply is limited, or the rate of the release of new coins is really limited, so that to a degree that it's counterinflationary. Compared to the US dollar, I mean, I'm pretty sure the government doesn't even know how many dollars there are out there in the world. Yeah. There was like a thing years ago, I remember, where it's like they've suddenly decided like all the $100 bills are not even in the US. You know, did anyone ever hear about that thing? Where it was like they were predicting like Russia's holding on to all of our $100 bills.
Yeah, they couldn't calculate the total amount of US dollars.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, they couldn't even figure out how much money there was out there, and they're still making more all the time. And every time they make 20% of the money, and the banks make the other 80%. Every time they make a loan, they're making money. Money creation is just crazy in America. You know, that's why the inflation rates for money is so high. If you make $10 today, you know, in 10 years, maybe it's only worth $5 compared to what you could buy now for it, right? So blockchains are also democratic. They're consensus driven. They're regulated only by software and the agreements of the users of the system itself. So it cannot be manipulated by any government, bank, organization, or individual. That's what I was talking about earlier when I said that, you know, to make a change, a majority of the users have to agree. That's kind of a cool, unique system for software. I don't think we've ever had anything like that before, where all the users need to agree. I mean, you know, Wikipedia kind of has a democratic thing to it. You know, Wikipedia can be edited by anyone. But then there's different levels, depending on how much editing you've done, how much trust you've built up, that you'll have different rights on different pages to like overrule people. And so, you know, it kind of has its own trust network built into it, just like a blockchain does.
Does it give you like a rating?
No, not right now. No. So where is all of this going to? If I only had a crystal ball, I could tell you. But, you know, there's a lot of talk about blockchain, decentralized, all the things. Everything connected to the internet. Let's decentralize it. Let's give it an address, and let's give it functionality, and let's create transparent transactional systems for everything, for the government, for, you know, for healthcare, for banking, new forex opportunities to exchange foreign money, like I did when I was in Japan. And other broader applications, there's some groups that are just focused on humanitarian uses for blockchains. So the future, one thing I can guarantee for you guys is that it's going to be rocky. There's going to be a lot of drama. There's going to be a lot of volatility in the markets. And so basically, it's up to you, if you're trading or investing, to decide how you're going to ride the waves. But if you make the right choices, if you choose well, you're going to be rewarded really handsomely. I'm going to cover some potential applications for networks of trust, where the owner is always verified. There's no question whether someone owns something or not. And only the owner can send something, and only the intended recipient can receive something. This means having no middleman for transactions involving cars or houses. If I wanted to transfer my house to Griff, I would just send the title of my house, the digital title, from my address to his address. And it would, when the transfer was complete, that would be it. The transfer can even rely on certain criteria, like an if-then. If Griff sends me this money and it hits my account, then release this, like an escrow. All of this is programmatic. So it doesn't require any third party, right? You don't have to pay anyone to do this for you. So some of the applications for trust networks involve digital money, like we're already seeing, digital signatures to prove that you actually sent something like an email or a photo or whatever it is to make it unique. Digital contracts, digital keys to physical locks, like to open a door in your building. Or an online locker, like online storage. It could be encrypted and you have a special key. Digital ownership of physical assets, like I said, houses and cars. Another potential application is tokenizing everything. I couldn't fit the eyes on the top of this, so I just wrote token. But it's kind of the idea of like, imagine getting paid for everything you do that is work. One of my friends has this whole joke. I'm like, what are you working today? Like, it seems like her work is to like write thank you cards to people and, house sit. But that really could be her work. She actually does kind of get paid to do that. And it's maybe not what other people consider work. So imagine having like a rewards program for everything you do that you can be rewarded with crypto coin tokens for things. So there's already tokens for crowdfunding. People have an idea to build something for the world on the blockchain or crowdfunding through creating their own token. They create their own cryptocurrency. There's also you can get tokens for viewing a video or advertisement. So instead of YouTube making money off you watching the videos, you could make a fraction of the money, is kind of the idea. Because like YouTube provides the delivery, but what's the delivery of the videos if someone's watching them? I think like 90% of internet traffic is just robots, just like click bots and things like that, just watching all these videos, just making it cost more to put them out there. It's kind of a crazy thing. So the interesting thing about tokens is that right now we live in a world of stocks, which is all profit driven. So the idea of tokens is actually, it's kind of funny because it's kind of what attracts everyone to cryptocurrencies, the idea of like, wow, I can make money doing this. But the dream of cryptocurrencies is really that we won't need money. The idea of tokens incentivizes companies not to make profits, but to gain users. Because the token's value only increases as the usership increases. So that's really different from stocks. Stocks encourage people to make profits because a stock is like saying, I have a percentage of that profit of that company. When that company gets sold, I'm going to make money. So it makes companies profit driven, profit crazy actually. And it causes companies to do things that are maybe immoral or that aren't sustainable, just to make a profit in the short term, not to create something great for the world or something, like something everyone's going to use like Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, companies that had zero monetization but had a ton of users. And then we're here sitting here judging them saying, but how are they going to make money? They're already ahead of the game in a way because they weren't thinking about money. They're thinking about like what would be really cool for the world. And tokens provide a way to incentivize companies and people to spread it, So if you are invested into something with a token, that token values only go up when the number of users go up. So it incentivizes you to spread the word, to get other people involved. Kind of like I'm doing right here, right? If everyone in the whole world bought, cryptocurrencies, then there's a certain percentage, I guess. There's like a tipping point. When a certain number of people get involved, stuff's really starting to move now. And then there's probably another tipping point later where we're going to see even more change, where it really gets incorporated into different things in our life that I can't even predict. Anyway, I have other funny tokens on here. So how do you invest? How do I invest in cryptocurrencies? Who's waiting for this slide? Yeah. So the website that I recommend using right now is called Coinbase. And you can buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin using US dollars on Coinbase. On Coinbase, the amount that you're able to buy will depend on your level of verification, like most exchanges. If you add your ID, if you add your social security number, you're able to buy more. If you add your address, you're able to buy more. But there are places where you could go to buy it without revealing your identity. And this is what's appealing about cryptocurrency for certain people. I met a man when I was traveling in Japan who was a very wealthy guy who wanted to support political candidates in the US, whatever, but not he didn't want them to know it was coming from him. He's like, one of the tough things about being rich and wanting to support someone is that if I send someone money one time, then they just never stop hitting me up. But to do it anonymously would be great, because then my colleagues, no one would know, it would be untraceable. And that person couldn't even know it came from me. I don't care about them thanking me. I just want to be able to send them something to support them. So there's a website called localbitcoins.com where you can buy or sell Bitcoin offline using US dollars. You could, transact Bitcoin over an email with a random email address you came up with. You don't even have to give your real name on this site. You can also mine Bitcoins if you want to have one of these heating your house. There's a good mining tutorial here. Yeah, right. We've actually had it in Melissa's house, and she's like, "Can you please get this thing out of here? It's so loud and hot."
It's like a jet engine.
GPU.
Yeah. Oh man. You can accept Bitcoins at your business. You could buy Bitcoin from someone in the alley. No, I don't really recommend that. Okay, no, I don't really recommend buying Bitcoins from the alley. Yeah, that's where you get the really good Bitcoins. I will say that, like, doing local Bitcoins, you might have you could potentially work out like an alley transaction, like I did in Japan. But if you're selling it, the price is going to be lower than what you could sell it for an exchange. If you're buying, it's going to be higher, because there's a certain amount of risk involved with meeting someone, but also it's a pain in the neck to schedule it, to get there, to travel to meet them, to wait for them, all that. But you can also be creative. It's okay to share your wallet address, just not your private key. I have a quick story about this. Be creative. Is that you see the sign that says "Hi Mom, send Bitcoin" right here? That symbol on the banner is called a QR code, and that QR code contains the Bitcoin address, which is right here. So this guy in 2013 was at a sporting event in college and made this huge banner that said "Hi Mom, send Bitcoin," and it went viral on Reddit.
Is this private key?
No, it wasn't. It's his actual address.
Oh, okay.
And I checked last night just to see how much did he make. He made 23 Bitcoins in a day,
Oh my god.
which in 2013 was worth $23,000, but today it's worth more like $50,000.
People like to send little decimal points that are interesting, like 0.420, ha ha ha.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you can see here's some transactions. Excuse me. If you read the address, it's "Hi Mom G." You see that right in the middle there, under address, "Hi Mom G." So that's pretty funny. The last time he received any money was 0.001 Bitcoin on May 5th of last year. So someone sent him money. I think he ended up giving a lot of it to charity, from what I remember. But like I said, be creative. You can figure out ways to get Bitcoin donations for things. This is the address where you can view there's a website called blockchain.info where you can look up any address and see how much Bitcoin has been sent or received from it. But it's not that we would know this belonged to him unless he was saying, hey, this is me. You know? That's where it's pseudonymous. It's a pseudonym for who the person really is. And you can have an unlimited number of addresses. So you can create new ones all the time. Okay. So since you're going to be dealing with digital currencies, I've already repeated this a few times. Never share your private keys, never share your private keys. You got to learn to protect yourself. And it's actually not that hard. It's pretty simple. There's only 2 things I really recommend right now that are outside the ordinary of, like, you know, have a computer that has an antivirus on it. Like, don't run any weird software and all that kind of stuff. You're going to keep the wallets on your computer or be typing in passwords on there. There's all kinds of ways for stuff like that to happen, where someone could gain your password. But definitely never share your private key. Your private key is what decrypts your secret codes. So unless you want everyone in the world to know your secret codes, get your money, get into your bank accounts, and see all your photos they don't want them to see, then you want to hold on to your private keys no matter what. It's really like a password. Also, use two-factor authentication. Does anyone here right now use two-factor authentication for stuff? Oh, awesome. Wow, good. Yeah, I recommend using two-factor authentication on everything. On everything. And sometimes you even might need to turn it off and turn it on again, depending on what's going on in the world.
What does suck is if you travel outside the country and your phone doesn't have an international plan and you have two-factor authentication on everything,
Oh, you're fucked.
you're locked out of even your own Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to travel in Japan with a Japanese SIM card,
Right.
and I didn't have any problem with that. So I just got, or if you're on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I screwed myself in Canada once. So.
Oh, but couldn't you have gotten on Wi-Fi in?
Not where I was at a music festival, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Yeah, so it's obviously it's a little bit more of a pain in the ass in some ways, but it's so worth it. Because even if someone were to able to get your password, they still wouldn't be able to get in your account. Because what two-factor authentication is where you need 2 devices to get into one of your accounts. So your bank account might have like an RSA key. Like I have one of those for one of my bank accounts. They don't allow me to use my phone. They make me have a separate little device that I get to keep track of to be able to log into my account. But most accounts I use Google Authenticator. It works great. I have a link to it, or I have it on the list at the end of this.
So does that mean that for everything in your life that you log into, you constantly need to have your phone there to do the second factor?
Yeah, or if I'm logging on my phone, it actually is already on my phone. So it's not exactly 2-device authentication, it's 2 factors. There's a password and a secret code. And that secret code is randomly generated and changed every 10 or 20 seconds on an app on my phone. So it's constantly changing. And there's a couple different apps that are really good for that. So now let's get into more trading stuff. I want to talk about symbols because every cryptocurrency has a symbol to it, which is like a shorthand for the currency. So I put this fancy effect on here for Ethereum. Ethereum's symbol is ETH, ETH. And its coins are actually called Ether. So, you know, the idea is that to run applications on the Ethereum network, you need to spend Ether to use it. You can't use money to run an application. When you run typical applications like, you know, if Dogtown makes a mobile app, then they have to pay for the hosting of that app on servers somewhere. And they'll pay in cash more than likely than not, or with a credit card, digital cash. But if you want to run something on the Ethereum network to run on all my little miners, the only currency I'm going to take is Ether. Ether. Did I say that right? Ether? So yeah, Ether is the currency that, like, is the gasoline. Like gasoline is to a car, Ether is to the Ethereum network. Because all over the world, there's computers like this. Maybe they don't look exactly like this, but a lot of them probably do. Some of them are just mess on the floor. There's pictures online of like crazy like setups that people have mining. But there's data centers. There's shipping. You can buy shipping containers full of these if you want to mine. If you got enough money. This one costs $2,400 to build about. So this is a $2,400 miner. And Kyle, how much does this make a day?
I think it makes when you don't subtract power usage.
Yeah, without subtracting.
$20 a day.
$20 a day? Okay. So at the current rate of Ethereum, it makes $20 a day.
What is it when you say
25 actually.
25.
power
Okay.
usage?
The power usage on this is 1,200 watts. So, you can calculate that at like an average of 17 cents per watt.
Natural gas.
Yeah, natural gas. We need solar. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Basically, so 4 months. 4 months before it pays itself off.
Yeah, 3 to 4 months at the current rate of Ethereum, which I was reading someone today was kind of predicting that Ethereum's price is very inflated because miners shouldn't be able to pay off their mining rigs too that quickly.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
So, I don't know if that's true or false, and I haven't researched that at all, but it's an interesting theory. Anyway, Ether is the coin of Ethereum. And right now, Ethereum is produced through mining, but eventually it's going to be produced through something called staking, which all you need to do is have Ethereum sitting in your wallet and it stakes. So the currency is going to change the way that's mined in the future because they don't want people to just be like throwing tons of money into hardware. At a certain point, the network's going to be big enough that it could run everything well for years. So they don't really want it to keep growing, for people to be dumping all money into hardware. So Ethereum's very smart, very interesting organization. They wanted to make a currency that was more programmable, more flexible than Bitcoin. So people could create smart contracts, create their own tokens. And this is really happening all the time now. People create their own Ethereum tokens that run on Ethereum to raise money to build their projects. Pretty cool. Then we got Bitcoin here, the grandfather and the most successful of all cryptocurrencies. It's kind of the brand name. Its ticker code symbol is BTC, and it looks like a little orange coin with a B on it. Then we got this fancy fade in for Litecoin, which, at first, they were saying, oh, it's the silver to Bitcoin's gold. Now they're calling Ethereum the silver. People are going to use all kinds of different metaphors for these things. Could Litecoin eventually cash up to the price of Bitcoin? People ask me stuff like this. Yeah, I guess it could happen, but I don't think so. But out of the three here, Litecoin is the cheapest one in terms of the price per coin. So in a way, it kind of has the most room to grow compared to the US dollar. You can acquire more Litecoin than you could Ethereum or Bitcoin for the same amount of money because it's slightly cheaper. Whether or not that's the way to go or not, I can't advise you on that. But that's an interesting way to look at it. Dogecoins. This is an example of another really early cryptocurrency that was built as a joke. They released 1 billion of them right away, and then they released 5 million more every year or something crazy. It's got an almost infinite supply, and it's really inexpensive to buy, and the price fluctuates like crazy on the markets. But people who use it have used it to fund NASCAR cars. The community of Dogecoin is so generous. They just give this shit away for free all the time, basically. It's pretty wild. It's also been used on Reddit a lot to tip people. Reddit people post articles and they can receive a tip for a good, for a good comment or something. You could actually make money in Dogecoin. If you're funny online, you can make money. That's what I'm saying. Be creative. You never know. The amount of Dogecoin you get is worth way less than a penny usually, but it's pretty funny to get it. It's fun. And Dogecoin has this whole weird community online that revolves around these Shiba Inu dogs.
Yes.
That's called Shibes, and it's kind of it's on the coin too. It just doesn't make any sense because Dogecoin doesn't spell dog, and somehow they came up with this whole crazy Shiba Inu thing. Yeah, and they have a whole language such awake and much mourning, very alarms. Wow, such wow. So hilarious. I just don't understand it, but it makes me laugh. So how do you actually trade these things? Most of these trades occur on exchanges. Right? You can exchange with people, but most of it happens through an exchange, which is kind of a centralized idea. This is a little bit funny because exchanges require you to put all of your coins that you're going to trade into their wallets and trust that they're going to take care of it. This is what happened with Mt. Gox. It's kind of counterintuitive to the way that the decentralized market works, and there actually are exchanges that are being developed that will be decentralized, that will allow you to keep your wallet to yourself and authenticate with your wallet so that you can store your wallet wherever you want and create transactions from it. But right now, it's kind of a broken, weird system. So there is always a chance that any particular exchange could get hacked, could crash, could disappear.
Just FYI, a Bitcoin wallet system I was using called Celery for the last 2 years. I just logged in, and as of a week ago, it said all withdrawals, deposits, and orders are currently halted.
Yeah.
It got hacked. So like, these things are inherently unstable. I'm glad I took my money out of it earlier than that, but like if I didn't,
Totally.
I'd be like, how do I get my money out?
So fair warning, using exchanges, they are centralized. You know, I use a lot of different exchanges. I have multiple accounts on the exchanges. You know, I don't ever put all my stuff in one basket. So the first thing to do if you want to trade, though, is you got to register for an exchange. You got to go sign up an exchange.
Trading, not buying.
Yeah, trading, not buying. I already covered buying, how to get it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but this is when you already have some. Now,
you wanna
you
trade
want
it.
to trade it for other things because, the purpose of the game in trading is to accumulate more of something. If you want to accumulate more US dollars, then your goal should be dollars. For me, I always try to accumulate more Bitcoin. So I'm trading Bitcoin to other things that increase in value in relation to Bitcoin, and then trading back to Bitcoin. And so, in any given day, I could make a few Bitcoin on my transactions now.
You mean full Bitcoins,
Bitcoins. Yeah.
which are equal to $2,200 a piece?
Yeah.
Today.
Because the things that I'll buy are worth like pennies. So I'll talk about this more when I talk about my strategies for trading, which I'll share with you guys, and I think they're really good. First thing you want to do is register for an exchange, or many exchanges. There's 3 that I think are the biggest ones: Kraken, Bittrex, and Poloniex. It kind of depends on the week, but those 3 are the biggest. I don't use all of them, but I use some of them. You will deposit some cryptocurrency that you own. If you bought Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum, you can trade usually all of those to something. Then you're going to buy other cryptocurrencies with the cryptocurrency you have. All right, so now we're getting a little bit complicated, but the idea is that when you're exchanging cryptocurrency, when you first exchange cryptocurrency, you're going to be using US dollars because that's what you have. So you're going to be selling US dollars to someone and buying their Bitcoin or buying their Ethereum. It might be Coinbase, or it could be someone on the street, right? In the alley. Then when you get into an exchange, you're going to be trading with someone else who has some of these other cryptocurrencies. So you might be trading for Dogecoin or Stellar Lumens, or there's hundreds of these. Like, there's 900 plus cryptocurrencies out there. They're all different in some way. Maybe just the name. Sometimes the software could be identical. They have 2 different names. It's the Wild West, really. But most of the time, one of my recommendations is don't trade anything with less than 10 Bitcoin. I would say starting off, less than 1,000 Bitcoin, or even 10,000 volume per day. You want high trading. You don't want to get stuck in some coin that you're never going to be able to trade out of. So the volume is the total amount of trades that occur in a day, in 24 hours. You want to be trading coins that have really high volume. Like 10,000 Bitcoin plus would be great.
10,000 plus.
10,000 plus Bitcoins worth of volume per day. Yeah. So what are you going to trade? You can trade coins that you believe in. Well, I don't know how you're going to believe in any coins right now, but you might have to do a little research, a little reading. Start looking at the names of them. Start watching the news as they pop up, but do your research. Don't just buy something because you saw it on the news one day.
So $22 million as of today's value.
Yeah, something like that.
Annual
Yeah.
trading volume.
Yeah, I think somewhere in the 1,000 to 10,000 range makes sense. Some coins can fluctuate a lot, so you need to look at the trading volume over a week sometimes. I'm big on volume. So another thing I say is buy any coin with increasing buy volume. So I get a lot of alerts on my phone even for all kinds of volume changes that occur in the markets. Since we've been here, I've gotten a bunch. It says volume change, 392% volume change. in the past 24 hours on one of these coins. You know, because if the volume changes, that means people are actually buying it. Just because something's in the news or someone recommends it to you doesn't mean it's actually something that people are interested in, that people are going to use. Another thing I recommend trading are ICOs, which are the initial coin offerings. So that's where someone creates a token to raise money for some new technology that they're building. And like I said, anyone can create their own token, but the ones that have really good technology behind the idea are going to raise a lot of money. There are some of these things that raised, I think the most recent one I saw was like 28 million in one day. $28 million in one day for an idea that kind of sounded okay to me. So crowdfunding for blockchain technology development is really what the ICO is. It's like Kickstarter, but where people buy a token. And I've participated in a few of these things and they've all been profitable, even the ones that sounded kind of wacky.
It's like the .com boom.
Yeah, so it's like the name is derived from the stock IPO, but like I said, stocks and tokens are very different because they incentivize differently. So you also don't have to be an elite financial person to participate. You know, to participate in ICO, you have to like know a guy who knows a guy or be in the 1%, it seems like, to like be able to get your money in. There's all kinds of minimums. With an ICO, there's no minimum. You can put $1 in. You want to put $1 worth of Bitcoin into an ICO? It's totally possible. So yeah, stocks drive companies, another thing about these incentives, to increase profits. This also incentivizes holders of equity to hold on to as much as possible. It's almost like stocks encourage greed and tokens encourage sharing. Right? On a lot of the ICOs that I've been involved in, there's people who are like, sometimes just looking to sell. They're like, I'm just going to sell some now because I want to get more people involved. You know, I'm going to give some out to people because I want them to have it. Like, I want people to be using this. Like, that would never happen with a stock. Here's some Facebook stock because I like you. Yeah, right. So here's some rules that I use for trading. When the price is going up, I buy. Not when the price is going down. So people always ask me like, oh, is it too late? And my answer is that if the price is going up, it's never too late. Because the percentages that like Ethereum went up this weekend alone, I think is over 100% now in one weekend. So if you had put in $200 on Thursday, you would have more than $400 worth of Ethereum now. If the price rises, I buy more. If I have a small loss, I sell quickly. I don't wait for a rebound. I do listen to volume changes in trading, and I do not listen to other people. I don't listen to analysts, advisors, or news because for me it's like they're all just trying to gain something a lot of times. But my other recommendation is immerse yourself. Get to know the technologies. Like really start to figure out how it all works. Hold on, wait, I'll do questions at the end. Some resources for trading, some tools. Coinbase to buy and sell. CoinDesk is a great site with news. I still like reading the news even though it may not influence my decisions to trade. Google Authenticator, 2FA security, very necessary, two-factor authentication. Poloniex is the largest cryptocurrency exchange for exchanging to other cryptos. Telegram is a great messaging app with lots of channels to support all kinds of noobs and advanced crypto traders. And there's lots of apps in there for alerting and really interesting things are built on Telegram. It's an app that you install on your phone. Blockfolio is a really slick mobile app for managing your portfolio, for tracking it and setting alerts. And CoinPing is a alerting system for Telegram. CoinMarketCap is the original site that I started using to track all the cryptocurrencies and see how the values changed. No, I don't have it. It's okay. So, if you want to sign up for Coinbase using my Coinbase link, I get $10 when you do a trade of $100. And you'll get $10 too. So when you have your own Coinbase account, you'll be able to sign up and refer other people. If they buy $100 worth, they'll get $10. So that's a pretty cool little thing for referring Coinbase to people. I've been using Coinbase forever anyway, and you know, I don't care if you use my link or not, but if you want to give me $10, and you're going to buy $100 worth, please do. So I'm also,
But if you have an account.
yeah, if you already have an account, then you're good. So I'm also building an escape room for kids to learn about decentralized currency technology, and I'm totally open to receiving Bitcoin donations for that. We're actually working on getting donations now. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for coming, and I look forward to hearing all of your questions. You know, we spent about 20 minutes going through those. I just hope you guys take away more than just, hi mom, send Bitcoin. Thanks. Yeah.
You said when you see a loss of up to 7 to 8%, sell quickly. Does that mean that you're selling your entire holdings in that currency?
I'd say it depends, you know. I mean, there's different times where I'm not as responsive as I want to be. In a perfect world, I probably wouldn't even let it get back down to that low. If I buy into something and it only goes, let's say it's going up, I buy into something and then it immediately starts going down, I won't let it go more than 7 or 8% low. Sell out of it immediately. You know, until it's going down more, and then if it starts to come up, buy.
Again, are you saying that 7 for 8% effectively is like tantamount to a cliff? And then that means that, like,
Yeah, you can
you're in
kind of
trouble
watch the charts, and a certain amount of trading is like learning to watch the charts of the trades and have alerts set. So if you want to be trading, you need to have alerts set on your phone that alerts you of changes in price, things like that. Now, another thing I just want to say real quick is that you can also choose to be an investor instead of a trader. So I want to just talk really quickly about my own history with cryptocurrency and how, you know, I invested into Bitcoin years ago. I just bought Bitcoin every day. I had like a set amount, a recurring transaction to buy Bitcoin every day. And over a year, I just accumulated a lot of Bitcoin from buying every day, and all the price was going crazy. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to stop it now because who knows if the price will ever go back up. And back then the price went up to like the price was lingering around like $400 to $600. Sometimes it would go to $300. Then it started really dropping, and I was like, oh, forget it. You know, I'm not going to buy anymore. And then in December of 2016, I saw the Bitcoin prices were up to 1,000, and I was like, oh wow, I should go look at my accounts and see what I have in there. And I was like, oh, like this doubled, so I should just sell half of it now. And that's what I did. I sold half of the Bitcoin I had, and so I had like, you know, I had like a couple $1,000s worth of Bitcoin at the time. And I was like, this is free money for me to play with because I don't really care about it. You know, so whenever people ask me how much money should I put in, I always say, how much money do you want to lose? Because that's the freedom and attitude you really have to be able to not have a heart attack when you're doing this. So, you know, just to show you what's possible in this market though, you know, I've been able to like buy a laptop and fund projects that I believe in now. And I'm working on developing my own portfolio manager project now. And a lot of the stuff will be funded from that original money that I put in, which is now worth, I think today, like over $150,000. So just by trading, like I said, buying as things go up, selling before they go back down, I've been able to multiply what I originally started with by 1,000%. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
So what's driving that concern of yours? I mean, is it that philosophy of put the money that you're okay with losing?
Because you really could lose it. You know, I think.
Is it unpredictable the currency where it could go?
Yeah.
Or is it security concern you have? What's?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, well, in our world, we still need dollars to function day to day. So, you know, I keep a certain amount of like my money in dollars. Oh, of course, like I still have some money in the stock market, but the bulk of the value that I have now is totally in cryptocurrencies. And to be able to ride the waves, like I call them, you can't be freaking out about it. I have friends who have been buying in the past few weeks who are like texting me like, oh my God, this is down 10% today. This is crazy. Like, ah. I'm like, well, why don't you just sell it then? You know, it's like you can get in and out at any time. It's totally free flowing. So you're not locked into any contract.
Do they behave in a similar way to like a forex technical charts and everything on?
Yes. The charts are very similar to a foreign exchange chart.
And how do you deal with, you know, capital gains and taxes
Mhm.
issues like that with it?
Yeah.
Like, can you do it also trade it through a Roth account, like Roth IRA?
I don't know anything about it.
So I
you know.
can talk into this.
Yeah.
The IRS has passed legislation that says if you earn money from buying Bitcoin and then selling it at a higher price, you are taxed at your capital gains rate. So that varies between 35% and 15% depending on how long you've held on to it.
Well, that's kind of a way of legitimizing it, though.
Yeah, but also it depends on how long you've owned it, I believe. So there's certain rules that apply there, but I'm not a tax
Long-term
guy. I don't
capital
know.
gains tax if you hold on to an asset
For a year
longer
or
than a year.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
That's if
Yeah.
you use a website that's not anonymous, though, right?
Yeah, that's not.
If well, it depends how honest you are, and depends how honest the sites you're using are.
So, I was just in DC meeting with officials at the finance committee,
Mhm.
and this is something that they're very interested in because it's an
Mhm.
unknown.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meetings taking place on the Hill, and it has the attention of the Treasury and the IRS. So you can expect that more and more intrusion from the government is going to take place over time.
Yeah, the actual theme of the escape room that we're doing, the story of it is that the government creates a centralized blockchain in the future. And they're giving the kids the tour of this thing when something goes wrong. Because it's centralized, because it has a single point of failure. And so the story is kind of about decentralization. About how, the government wants to maintain control. Like there's always someone that wants to maintain control of something. And to do that, you have to have a majority of the CPU power on these networks, really how it works.
You said that you spread your holdings across a bunch of different
Yeah.
accounts, currency. Can you just give us like a ballpark of
Mhm.
like how many different currencies you're in,
Mhm.
how many different like online wallets you're
Mhm.
using to store
Mhm.
your various holdings?
Yeah, I have online and offline wallets. So some wallets live only on my computer. And I have wallets in exchanges. Some exchanges I have 2 to 3 accounts on with different email addresses. And I diversify into a lot of different cryptos based on the volume of trading. So, if the volume trading is going up in certain ones that I've heard about a lot, that I've read about, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I bought some Sia coin last week. What's Sia coin? It's like Sia coin's a coin that you mine with storage instead of CPUs or GPUs. So it's like, there's all this unused storage in the world. Well, the worldwide network of blockchain computers that like Ethereum is building, which is like, could be the biggest supercomputer in the world computationally now, needs storage too. It needs a place to store the data. So Sia coin and MadeSafe coin and storage coin, there's all these coins that are like, hey, you know what? Let's provide that piece of the puzzle, which I think is really cool. I actually just bought with Bitcoin, I bought like a storage miner that's going to ship from somewhere in Europe, where it's like a huge network storage device where all the storage is on the blockchain. So you don't have to back it up anywhere. Whatever you put on there gets stored across the world on other storage devices too, but encrypted. So no one could view it because it's stored with a key. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see what it does. Yeah.
With all of this you mentioned, how are all of these cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, they're protected against the hackers, malwares, ransomware that was going on recently? That they did.
Well,
a
I think that
ransomware for
honestly,
East
it's
Asia.
like the question is really like the question that you're asking is kind of complicated because ransomware could never affect a Bitcoin network, but ransomware is ransomware is the idea of ransom is like you have to pay me to get back your daughter or whatever like happens in Taken. That's the ransom, right? You have to pay to get something back.
Yes.
So what happens in ransomware is that software gains an access to your network at your business or at your home and encrypts your data and says, you want the key? I'll give it to you. But you have to pay me in Bitcoin. Send Bitcoin to this address, and it's all automated. It's all software.
Yeah.
The software goes out, finds the computer, infects it. When it infects it, it creates a web address. That web address is created one time only. Then it creates a Bitcoin address one time only, where you send the Bitcoin to, and it's all automated. And someone's just in there collecting it. They send those viruses out in the wild. using all the tools the NSA leaked, and then
So what keeps them from collecting all of it all?
what keeps them from collecting all of it all?
That double authentication, right?
I mean, I think it's up to everyone to protect themselves in different ways. I mean, to collect all of it, they would have to infect online, offline wallets. It wouldn't even. It's like they could never collect all of it that way. So if the cryptographic hashing algorithm were ever cracked by like quantum computers at some point in the future, because right now, the cryptographic hashing algorithm that Bitcoin uses is called SHA-256. You know, I've read that physicists have calculated there's not enough energy in the universe to break it right now,
Okay.
using our current technologies.
One more question.
Yeah.
Not the increasing confirmation time that you say is like it's taking more and more to confirm it.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
release
yeah.
it. As more people buy and as the volume goes up and everything like that, how's that getting affected? So not so much of them getting stuck in there,
Yeah.
not even moving around.
Well, there's competing theories from programmers around the world on how to deal with this, and there's been a consensus today that Bitcoin's going to move to what's called segregated witness, which will allow the network to have more speed capabilities essentially in the future. And so that's kind of like stuff that you can like read a little bit about as you go. Yeah.
So what do you usually wait for your volume to say the volume change? You said keep an eye out for the volume.
Yeah, well, I think
What
it
do you
depends on the coin versus the value of the volume changes. Like, you know, I got an alert today that's like this coin went up 500% today in volume, but it was like 3 Bitcoin worth. So that means, you know, it was 1/5 of that yesterday, which is not much. That's like less than Bitcoin. So that's not one that I'm really interested in. It's not one that I've read about. It's not one that I've researched. You know, I don't just like chase the volume, but I do kind of use it as a guide.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying is like, what would be like your, like it starts falling the volume.
Oh, if it starts
changes the
falling?
volume, or
Yeah.
like what would you said?
It's
10K
not about the
was-
volume falling as much as the price. So I use the volume for buying, and then I look at the buy volume for one things that I want to buy,
Okay.
and then I guess you could also look at the sell volume and the sell price to sell. You know, I don't really sell a lot of stuff. Like, the market's been so crazy for all of them that they've almost all of them gone up. You know, there's only 1 or 2 maybe that I'm down on, but I'm kind of like long-term invested in those, so I'm not trading them. Even though I'm down maybe a couple $100s in one, or, you know, a couple like 0.001 Bitcoins in 1 or 2 of them, like it's not down low, but even though it's down, I'm sticking with it because, like, you know what, those are some of the ones I really believe in. It's the ones I really read about, and I might even put more money in while it's down because I think some of these things are so early, they haven't even released their software. They're just talking about what they're going to do. But the way they're talking sounds awesome. One of the ones I really like is called Golem. And their goal is to make the world's largest supercomputer. They're going to pay people all over the world to just run algorithms on their computers. So you don't need to have special mining equipment. They're going to make something that can run on like every computer. Pretty cool. Yeah.
Because it's decentralized, there's no way to do like ultra fast like microtransactions like they do in the stock market. And is anyone doing futures for coins?
Yeah. There's all kinds of
They are?
there's
I mean,
all
it's-
kinds of crazy speculative markets and stuff. I don't really
Right.
participate in
But
them.
because it's decentralized, there's no way to.
No,
beat
there
the
is
market
ways to
as much,
do.
is
Yeah,
there?
there's totally. Yeah, actually, I have a trading bot
That's kind
that
of
I have.
interesting.
Yeah. There are microtransaction stuff. So, I heard about this through a guy that was on one of my chat channels. He's like, "Hey, there's this really cool trading bot. People are making like 10% a day with it." I was like, "Oh, whatever. I'll throw a Bitcoin into it and see what happens." And it's like lost money sometimes, or it's made money sometimes. It's like totally unpredictable.
Yeah.
But it uses something called Bollinger Bands, which are like reading the graph of
Right.
historical data of where the price has been to see like where do we expect this to be based on these special mathematical calculations in the future,
Right.
and based on those calculations it'll be buying or selling.
Well, because it's so decentralized, like right now they're doing microtransactions with the regular stock markets, and they have a building next to the Wall Street
Yeah.
to make that extra microsecond.
No,
But
definitely.
Is anyone like?
Yeah, there's
buying a
hundreds of
real estate
people.
next to the big ISP headquarters because that's where all the even
Yes.
though it's decentralized.
Totally, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
where I
like
would
we
go.
have a data center project where people are just like looking to get virtual machines to run all kinds of things in because
Yeah.
it's like really most of these networks are most of the exchange, some of the exchanges are run in the U.S. So if the exchange is run in the U.S., then you would want to be located in the U.S. on your computers. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it does happen. Yeah.
Considering there's so many different types of it, I was actually talking a couple of days with Schwab, and there
Who?
potentially Charles Schwab, and there's potential the ETFs of it that's coming that are gonna have base a portion
Yeah.
of their thing as a Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would it be more to actually also invest in ETFs, or is mainly just because that's like dollar for
Well, I
dollar?
mean, I think the thing about ETFs is that that's what people in crypto world call legacy finance. You know, it's been the system for a long time, and I don't really know if it's done the world much good. You know, I think in certain situations it can, but the stock market stocks, they drive greed.
That is kind of bullshit since this entire lecture is about how to make money using cryptocurrencies and using them in a situation where.
Well, I think the money is what drives people to considering them,
Of course.
but it's not the ultimate goal of them.
But that's money that's being taken out of the real economy that could be funding actual like products or
Yeah.
services for people, and at the same time using an enormous amount of energy consumption.
Yeah. No, I agree that like there's a lot of wasteful things happening in crypto world. Like mining can actually be really wasteful. You know, creating a lot of junk hardware eventually that won't be used for anything else.
Enormous amount of energy.
Yeah, and it uses a lot of energy. It creates a lot of heat. So you know, it's not a perfect system.
I guess my frustration is to say it's legacy
Yeah.
finance, whereas
Yeah.
those ETFs are actually financing actual productive capabilities in the economy that benefit people.
Yeah.
Whereas this seems to be.
Well, they may or may not be. You know, they may or may not be. I don't.
It's an exchange traded fund.
Which
All it's
Yeah.
doing is tracking an index.
Yeah.
True, but those to track that index, they have to buy those stocks, and that money is being used to fund the actual like the manufacturer.
So in this
of
case,
services.
the ETF for cryptocurrency is not regulated yet. It's not on the exchange.
Mhm.
It's going through the process, and if it goes through, then it will be buying into a certain, blend of cryptocurrency.
That, I'm okay with that. I just don't like that. I didn't like that term.
Legacy finance, yeah.
'cause that actually is finance. Like
Mhm.
what you're doing is just a gambling confidence scheme with a bunch of people.
Mhm.
That is ultimately deflationary, which is not good for anybody.
Mhm.
And I had a specific question though, which is, isn't there a limit at which no more bitcoins can be mined? Like,
Mhm.
isn't there like a hard
Mhm.
limit? And I
Mhm.
guess that's just speaking just to Bitcoin.
Mhm.
What happens exactly at that point in what
Mhm.
is the incentive for people to continue to process these transactions in the blockchain?
Then they will get paid with transaction fees.
Okay, so
Yeah.
instead of just normal
Yeah,
money.
or at that point, the Bitcoin network could vote to make more Bitcoins. You know, the software can adapt. It's not like written in stone.
And they need that 50%.
It's like diluting stock
51.
at that point, right?
51.
What's that?
It's like diluting stock at that point, I think. This is years ago.
I don't know. It depends what it's being used for, really.
Yeah.
You know, it depends what it's being used for.
What is it being used for? Because
Yeah.
the money is your definition of money is incomplete. You're only talking about it as a medium of exchange,
Mhm.
not as a unit of account or as a store of value.
Mhm.
The unit of account thing, I think we can put to the side because we're measuring this in dollars anyway, and it would have to be so ubiquitous before you start measuring everything in Bitcoin.
Right.
So setting that aside.
Well, actually, I don't know. In crypto world, everything is measured in Bitcoin. Like everything on the exchange is actually measured in Bitcoin now.
That's fine. So I'm saying
Yeah.
setting that aside, the store of value thing, when you have a currency that is this volatile,
Mhm.
and that also can't be used to extend credit to anybody, it seems like it's not actually money, it's just a medium exchange that is clunky, takes a long time to transact, and in some ways has high fees, at least in terms of like environmental costs of all the energy that you're using to mine this stuff.
Well, you know what? Hold on. Let me answer this here. Okay. Thanks, Blair. So, Maddie, I think this is all like a matter of perspective. Okay? Because everything that you're saying is true, and that's true to you. And what's true to me about Bitcoin is that it's become a way to fund new technological innovation in a way that was not possible before. You know, so like we can compare and argue, you know, economic theories and you know, real world applications of things, as much as you want. But what it comes down to is like you and I just have different perspectives on this thing, and like it's totally cool that you have your perspective and I have mine. And what's true for you might not be true for me.
Well, the
You know?
definition of money is the definition of money. It has
Yeah.
to be a medium of exchange, a store of value, and
Yeah.
a unit of account.
Yeah.
That's not my truth. That is what money is.
Right.
It's all agreed upon
What,
value, right?
what he was saying is though it's like the Star Trek currency eventually, like if you watch Star Trek, like the advanced, like they got rid of currency in the end. And that's what I think Bitcoins is trying to do. They're trying to unite everybody, you know, through getting rid of greed and stuff and building partnerships and
But you're here to learn how to trade and make money doing this. What do you mean?
That's
get
the
rid of
ironic part of it in a way,
Yeah, that's-
because
yeah.
our
Paradox.
world
There's a
still
lot of
functions on
speculation.
currency.
Is it, am I correct to say like this would almost work for Kickstarter or crowdfunding, and then you could just be able to get the Bitcoins or tokens to be able to fund those projects and bring inventions and everything up much easier than, hey, give me your hourly salary,
I don't really understand your
Like
question with
people,
that, but
people Kickstarter or any of those programs,
Yeah.
they have to give money to fund a project that's going to come out. So it's an invention.
yeah, but you're also
or
given
idea.
some kind of reward or thing for like
Exactly,
the
or
funding.
reward or
Yeah.
something. But this seems like it's much easier for people to hey, let me give you a couple tokens or add up, because they're gaining it through the value, and then they go like, okay, here, have a portion,
Yeah.
we'll make that
I
happen.
mean, I think that the idea, one of the core ideas of cryptocurrencies is to make value more fluid, to make it easier to create transactions and make it cheaper for value to flow, so that value can be transferred, so money can be transferred at the speed of technology, not at the speed of 30-40-year-old systems or whatever they are.
I think just to provide a different lens, I think it might be interesting for you to look at blockchain uses independent of currency to understand because there's a whole lot of utility in relation to, as you mentioned before, governmental services, things like distributed collaborative organizations where stock is or equity is basically is parsed out through and kept track of on a blockchain, and the NASDAQ is using the blockchain for pre-IPO trading, and all the banks are getting on that. So, I think that's a much wider context around the blockchain currency speculation, which is still speculative currency,
Yeah.
just like fiat money is at the moment, because we have no idea how much is in the market actually.
It's not backed by gold anymore, right?
No, it's not backed by gold. Yeah.
No, I mean, we went off the gold standard after World War I and to finance World War I, and
Yeah.
we said we were going to go back after this, and we never went back.
That's why I was kind of laughing at your
Actually,
original chart with the
we
yellow
did go
green.
back and
Yeah.
then we abandoned it in the 70s.
Right.
Well, I don't think that the dollar ever went officially back, from what I understand.
That's
It's
what I
that
also
it was
understand
it
as
was
well.
like we were buying gold from the world to back the currency somehow, but it wasn't
It was
officially
not
backed.
No longer a
We're just like
gold
buying
standard.
gold from other countries in exchange for like debt, and then at some point I think Truman stopped that. Yeah.
It's Nixon, but
Oh, Nixon. Yeah. Okay.
1970s. I mean, it feels in a little way. What is the general perspective? There's a bit of a dot-com boom, right? So there's all these currencies coming out. That's why this many people are in a room learning about it, right?
Yeah.
And like I mentioned to Ben, like I was at a presentation on Ethereum like well over a year ago, and then and that was with like high-level CEOs, and then now it's kind of in the mass, it's in the news, and everyone's hearing about it. And if you're like back during the dot-com boom, if you go to the Bay, people were just giving out options as tips, like it was just crazy. Like I hear stories about like people had 3 companies, 4 companies, you can get funding for anything, and the dot-com crash. So it's going to be really interesting to see, which of these currencies actually evolve to anything of value, well beyond currency even that, because companies can run on blockchain in terms of organizationally. So do you have any thoughts on like those comments in terms of like, is that the general consensus? Like some will make it and some will not, and will this become a mass consumption thing? That's really what like Brock is trying to do essentially.
Yeah.
Is make this mass.
Yeah. I think that we're like nearing a point now where mass adoption is going to make sense, but it's almost a little too early. Because there's still a lot of questions to be worked out. Things like the transaction fees being so slow. Eventually I do believe there will be a mass adoption of cryptocurrencies. to be used for things. We might not call them cryptocurrencies by that point.
Mm.
You know, these are like words that we're using to explain something that's, you know, like trading volume and market capitalization, all these things that come from another system. That's the only way that we can like interpret and use this data now. So in a way, like, you know, the fact that you can make a lot of money speculating in cryptocurrency markets right now is attracting people to the idea. It's kind of the best advertising for a technology ever. And the interesting thing is that, yeah, kind of the goal of that money is, the goal of that system is to not be money, in a way,
Right.
right?
It'd be nice to have a crash that doesn't affect the USD as well, for once, at least
Then-
directly.
Yeah, this
You can have a .com crash without it crashing the overall market.
Yeah.
that'd be global though, wouldn't it?
Yes, but I mean, what
How would that
percentage?
even
What
work?
percentage is cryptocurrency of global currency? It's got to be minuscule, right? 8 billion's been traded so far in Bitcoin, so that's a percentage of global currency. Is
Yeah, we
nothing.
can see.
Forex
We
is
you could have a
2
total
trillion a day.
Bitcoin crash.
But
it
But
wouldn't affect-
Japan being
Oh,
a
it's
major
not-
economy,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's
it
gonna
wouldn't
kind of
affect
catapult
actual
the rest
USD.
of
Oh,
it, isn't
yeah,
it?
no, yeah, not
In a
now.
way, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of an upside.
You think you
If
think
you
later
add all those up, it's still like maybe 10% of Apple's like market cap.
Okay, so it's not even a big deal.
Which is gonna
It's
hit
really not.
Oh,
And
wow,
that
38
kind of
million.
goes into where we're at right
Is,
now.
is the
where we're
market
going.
on this open 24/7 or is it like limited?
Oh, it's worldwide.
There's no market really.
But this can't
Just
ever crash.
24/7?
I mean,
Yes, oh yeah,
like,
oh yeah.
Everybody sells.
Hold on one sec, you guys.
Emotional-
Hold on one sec. We had a question in the back here. Let's just take one or two more questions before we go offline.
So we're talking about stability and gold is super stable. Do you ever see a cryptocurrency backed by gold?
Yeah, I think there is one that already exists called, gosh, I can't think of it now, but I think there is. You know, there's a cryptocurrency backed by the US dollar, actually, called USD Tether, which was started by Brock Pierce. And yeah, and USD Tether, for every USD Tether coin, there's $1. Someone has $1 in an account. I think they're like within 1% of the total amount of USD Tether coins, but when it comes to trading, you can actually use USD Tether instead of trading back into US dollars. Because it's got the same value as $1, but it's a cryptocurrency. The fees associated with trading back and forth to US dollars are higher than trading back and forth to USDT. So you can use USD Tether to trade value in and out of instead of trading it out of to US dollars. So the way this works is, you know, like Bitcoin's price is like going up like crazy in relation to the dollar. If you sold it for USD Tether before it goes down and then bought back into it when it's low, now you've actually, with the same amount of money, bought more value in Bitcoin.
What's a tether?
That's what it's called. The cryptocurrency is called USD Tether. USDT. It's on this list somewhere.
And that's an algorithm based. That's like rocket.
Yeah, it's called Tether.
Is,
The value is always $1.
Wow, that's awesome.
But the value in relation to Bitcoin will go down as the price of Bitcoin goes up in dollars.
What's
Oh,
the
it's
market cap
literally
there?
Tether. Oh, I get
64
it.
million?
Yeah.
So
Oh, I
this
thought you were
would be
talking
more
about-
effective than an actual.
No, the
paper
24-hour volume is 64 million. The
Sorry, I didn't hear.
yeah, the circulating supply is like around 64 million.
That's
Yeah.
what, that's what I, yeah, that's what I
That's
was
great. Never seen a graph that just goes straight.
Yeah.
I'm sending money international
Yeah.
all the time, so that might.
But I mean, look, it looks
You
like
had a
it's
bump at
barely
the
gonna
end of
flip
it.
on
Why
the,
did it go up and down?
These graphs are something you have to learn to read on your own. But the blue line is the market capitalization. The green line is the price in relation to US dollars, and the orange line is the price in relation to Bitcoin. So this is like an inverse of what you expect the US dollar.
64 billion trillion dollars? Is that supposed to be the same supply? That's just the same supply as the
BTC.
dollar? What is USD?
No, USD Tether is the
Oh, the
Tether
I'm so sorry.
cryptocurrency. Yeah. So the coin is called Tether. Its symbol is USDT, and it has an image of a little T, green T.
So you would make as much money just buying dollars off of someone else, in other words.
Yeah.
So give me 100 singles and I give you $100. That's the same finance.
You can't spend USDT like at a store, but you can use it on some exchanges.
You just use the
You could trade that with
What's
friends.
what's
for
the
example?
advantage of using it, selling it in
Yeah.
USDT and then buying it back?
Well,
in
like I
USDT?
explained,
It's it gives you
It's
just
like
a
a little
It's a,
couple
it's a
market
way
coins.
to lock in the value of what you have at US dollar prices without transacting back and forth to US dollars. Because US dollar transactions might cost you
Just a way to avoid
5 or
fees and
6%
everything.
instead of 0.25.
So no fees.
No fees. Low fees.
And you can trade from your wallet using this.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
And then in one of the slides you said get to know the technology.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Any recommended
I had no idea.
really good reading?
Well, every single coin has a website that you can find by clicking here on the website link on CoinMarketCap. So CoinMarketCap is one of the links in my slide. And on CoinMarketCap, you can look at the website and you can actually read what they say about it. You can read news articles about it. You can look at their research, resources.
Wow.
So the websites have a good amount of information. There's also Reddit and all of the chat channels on Telegram, just to see what people are saying about it, what people know about the people who founded it, because a lot of times the people behind the technology are really important too. So you got to trust them to be honest a little bit, right? All right, cool. If there's any other questions after this, we could still hang out and do some questions. I want to let people get out of here and we'll go offline. So thank you guys. All right, cool.
Sigmund for coming out and
Yeah,
What a
thank you.
class. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Kyle, can you end the stream?